And then in terms of Leicester, the Premier League are reportedly set to appeal the Leicester verdict, or it might already have been appealed. What do you think the chances of the Premier League being successful in that are?
Seems unlikely. I mean, so I think they probably have appealed. It's an odd story to come out if it isn't true, and it is something that I heard on the grapevine about 2 weeks ago. When I heard it, I was very skeptical, and I couldn't see how it was true given the hurdles that the Premier League will need to jump to win that case. So the way it works with challenging an appeal of a disciplinary, so that's what this is. So Leicester had a disciplinary hearing. They lost the disciplinary hearing. They appealed it themselves. The appeal board that had 2 former Court of Appeal judges on it decided that they'd won. The way that the Premier League rules work are that if you want to challenge an appeal board, you have to go to arbitration. So it's known as a Rule X arbitration. Within there, it tells you that the ways in which you can challenge it. You can't just say, well, we don't like the decision, so we're challenging it. You don't have any, there's no inherent right to an appeal of an appeal board. So you have to say either it's fraud, so that the appeal board was literally acting fraudulently. Well, forget that. That's obviously not the case. That they acted in bad faith. Again, forget that. That's obviously not the case. Or that they misapplied the law. Well, that is possible, but there's 3 of them on the panel. It's pretty unlikely that 3 of them got the law wrong, particularly as the law was presented to them by the barristers in the room. So they were actually, rather than kind of, they were deciding between 2 arguments from top barristers. So the likelihood that they're challenging on an application of law point, I think, is unlikely, which leaves only one thing that the Premier League can challenge, which is that no reasonable panel would have come up with that decision based on the facts that they heard. But that's an enormously high hurdle. I mean, that this would have to say that the appeal board that I've just explained was a very high quality board, was just irrational in its decision. But it's just very hard to see how that can be the case when you have such high quality panel members making what appears, if you read the decision, to be look, they may not agree with it. The Premier League may not agree with the decision, but it's much more than that. They have to show that nobody else, no reasonable panel could have agreed with the appeal board. I mean, it seemed very unlikely to me. The problem that Premier League have got is even if they win here, they kind of lose, because winning for the Premier League in this case means they have to prosecute Leicester, they have to deduct points from Leicester, and they rubbish their own appeal board. They basically say the appeal board that they had on that case was so incompetent that it came up with a decision that no reasonable panel could have come up with, which to me undermines the quality of its processes and the quality of its judicial panel. So I don't know. I'm very surprised. I would have thought that they would have wanted to just move on and accept that they had rules that, in their own admission, and we know this from the decision in that case, their own admission was that their own rules are not that well drafted. And I would have thought they would have accepted that, moved on, fixed the drafting of the rules so it didn't happen again, and taken it from there. But they've obviously had advice that they can win. I just think commercially that advice lacks a bit of commercial sense, because they may be right that legally there is a way that they can win here. But that doesn't answer the question, because, as I say, it's still a lose even if they win. They've still got the problem of dealing with Leicester. and they've still got the problem with undermining their own processes. But I mean, I'm sure they thought about this. It's just very hard to understand.